Lost by Anne Talkman. John and his family lived on the prairie. It stretched away as far as John could see. The prairie seemed as big as an ocean. The prairie was huge. John and his family moved to the prairie from a small town. The yard there had big old trees. A tiny young apple tree was the only tree near John's new home. John's mother planted it soon after they arrived. Right now, the tree looked like a skinny twig. Sometimes John felt lonely in his new home. He missed all his old friends. They climbed trees and played tag with him. Now, he had no friends. Each day, John and his sisters had many chores to do. John fed the chickens, milked the cows, and helped garden. Sometimes I feel like the chores will never end, John said to himself. John and his brother and sister did chores every day. Today, John finished his chores first. He called his dog Rex. Then John picked up an old rough corn cob and tossed it into the tall prairie grasses. "Fetch!" yelled John. Rex quickly found the corn cob and carried it back to John. John played with Rex until Cora said, "We finished our chores." "We can play now," said James. "Let's play hide and seek," said John. "I'll count to 50 while you hide," said Cora. She closed her eyes and counted. John hid behind the corn stalks, and James hid behind the house. Cora found them quickly. Next, John counted while his siblings hid. When he opened his eyes, he looked around carefully. "Where can they hide on the prairie?" James said to himself. Just then, he saw the grasses move. "Aha!" thought John. "Someone is hiding in the tall grasses." John tiptoed in among the grasses, but he didn't see anyone. The tops of the grasses waved high above his head. He heard the rustle of grasses a few feet away. John tiptoed toward the sound, but no one was there. Then John heard a noise. He walked toward the sound. "It's only flies buzzing," said John. He turned around and heard another sound. John ran toward the sound. "This time I found you for sure," he said. But he was wrong again. John tried to look between the grasses, but he only saw more grass. He looked up, but he only saw the tops of the grasses waving against the sky. "Maybe Cora and James aren't hiding here after all," said John, so he turned around to go home. But where was home? "I'll jump up so I can see over the grasses," said John, but the grasses were too tall. John began to feel frightened. Which way was home? He grabbed bunches of grasses with his hands and pulled them down. All he saw was more grass. John yelled for help, but no one came. Just then thunder rumbled in the sky. John looked up and saw dark storm clouds. The wind howled and the tall grasses waved wildly. John yelled for help again, but no one heard him in the storm. Suddenly, Rex raced toward John. "Take me home, Rex," said John, and Rex did. John ran into the house just as buckets of rain began to fall. "You didn't find us," shouted James. "We hid behind the house." "So that's where you were," said John. "I was sure you were hiding in the grass."